Hello, coming up on tonight's BBC London. Oh, come all ye faithful, or maybe not, after one of London's famous carol services on Columbia Road is cancelled over public safety fears.
It just was a victim of its own success and hadn't, in the end, you can't make Columbia Road bigger. So you can't get any more people in there.
Also ahead this evening. Making their voices heard in Downing Street, the London school children petitioning for a ceasefire in Gaza. Plus,
if you're coming back from like a night out or something like that, you don't always feel safe.
On night patrol in Greenwich as we question the mayor over London's crime figures. And ahead of their Christmas concerts, we go behind the scenes with the Philharmonic Orchestra. A very warm welcome to the programme. Good to have you with us. It is that festive time of the year when the sound of carols fill the air. However, one of London's most famous public carol services on Columbia Road has been so popular every Wednesday in December, it's had to be cancelled over safety fears. Around 7,000 people attended the free sing-along event last week, prompting crowd concerns from the local council and police. It's also raised the question of whether social media has made it a victim of its own success. Well, let's join our reporter Harry Lowe, who is there now. Hi, Harry.
Hello, it's famous for its flower market and independent shops. And each Wednesday in December, for each of the last 10 years, the piano has been rolled out onto the street and the carol singing has commenced. But not tonight. This time last week, the pavements were packed with people. And that's led organisers to say that it's simply not safe to squeeze so many people into such a small space. It may well be a silent night on Columbia Road. Organisers of the Christmas carols say they've been forced to cancel due to overcrowding at last week's event.
We had such an influx of people that the crowd was just too big. And we were finding that there were people having panic attacks, coming into shops, trying to get escape routes, and the police and the event organisers in unison really just thought this is not safe and we cannot take any risk here that people would probably get hurt.
Although the church didn't want to call it off, they say they were left with no choice.
People are really sad and upset, but I think generally speaking people get it, that it just was a victim of its own success and hadn't, in the end, you can't make Columbia Road bigger. So you can't get any more people in there.
It's grown in popularity, partly due to the power of social media. For shopkeepers, there's a sense of relief at the decision.
I think other people that I've spoken to, other business owners on the street, have said that they think it's a good idea that we stop the carol singing because it's too much in front of these tiny stores. And I think that if it was to go ahead again next year, I think there needs to be better crowd control, police and council involvement, because ultimately it's not up to the businesses and a small community of people to control a crowd of 8,000 to 12,000 people.
In a statement, Tower Hamlets Council told us the decision to cancel the Columbia Road carolling event was made by the event organiser due to their own concerns around public safety. It was not a decision taken by the council. There's hope that the event may yet return in 2024. If you're wondering what's behind this spike in popularity, it seems that videos shared on social media platforms such as TikTok has encouraged what turned out to be thousands of people to come along and join in the fun. The late night shopping is ongoing tonight, and a word of optimism for the future when I spoke to the vicar Heather, who featured in that report, about the chances of this event returning to the streets of East London again. She said, let's see if we can find a way to resurrect it in some form or other.
OK, Harry, for now, thank you. You're watching BBC London. Plenty more to come, including... Staying with the festive season, we go behind the scenes with the Philharmonic Orchestra ahead of the start of their Christmas concerts. One of the British Army's first Rastafarian Guardsmen has won a claim of race discrimination and harassment against the Ministry of Defence. Dwight Pyle-Gray from Camberwell was a member of the band of the Grenadier Guards. His 16-year army career was brought to an end following a row at a guard room in which a white guard didn't believe he was a soldier. He's been speaking to our correspondent, Jonathan Beale.
Dwight Pyle-Gray was once a poster boy for the army. The first Rastafarian soldier allowed to wear his hair in locks. But Dwight's exemplary 16-year service was brought to an end by an incident of racism.
Well, I thought I was the victim, but I was treated as though I was a criminal.
Dwight, an accomplished musician, joined the army in 2005. He played the French horn on many state occasions. Here, with a band of the Grenadier Guards, marking the Queen's 90th birthday. But as a minority, he knew he'd stand out.
I had experience of people using the N-word and people referring to the size of my genitals because I'm a black guy. What people would say, well, it's just banter. Is it banter?
It was an incident at Wellington Barracks in 2021 which proved the last straw. Dwight was stopped at the guard room. He was wearing civilian clothes and explained he'd forgotten his pass. But Dwight says he was treated differently from those in front of him, with disrespect shown by a junior white guard.
I said to him that you were disbelieving that I could actually be a soldier. They weren't having it. They accused me of playing the race card. And in fact, when the manager accused me of playing the race card, I absolutely lost my temper.
Dwight still can't comprehend what happened next. He reported the incident. He asked for mediation rather than making a complaint. But instead, he found himself being charged with insubordination.
Just leaves me feeling betrayed.
Would you call the British Army institutionally racist?
I would absolutely call it an institutionally racist organisation.
Dwight's now pursuing his music career as a civilian, with at last some sense of justice. An employment tribunal recently found that Dwight had been the victim of race discrimination and harassment. In a statement, the Ministry of Defence said it did not tolerate abuse, bullying, or discrimination of any kind. But Dwight says his bitter experience shows in the army it's worse to accuse someone of racism than it is to be a racist. Jonathan Beale, BBC London.
A group of Palestinian children from London has handed a petition in to Downing Street this evening calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. The recent conflict has seen bloodshed among both Israelis and Palestinians. The United Nations has previously said Gaza is becoming a graveyard for children. Well, our political reporter Katie Ray has been hearing from some of the children who've taken their concerns to the Prime Minister's front door and sent us this. And just a warning, there is some flash photography coming up.
The United Nations General Assembly, which is pivotal to peace operations, has voted overwhelmingly to call for a humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza. And today, families from across the country, including the capital, have come here to Downing Street to hand in a petition to the government to also call for a ceasefire. Thousands of children have signed this petition, which is backed by a group which supports the rights of Palestinians. And this is the second time that this group have tried to call on the government for a ceasefire. They've also signed a letter and given it to Rishi Sunak, but still are yet to hear from him. I spoke to some of those children to ask them what it meant to them.
I wrote letters to Rishi Sunak asking him to maybe call for an immediate and permanent ceasefire and to allow for people with British passports to be able to bring their family to the safety of the UK.
I just want ceasefire now, actually, because ceasefire will stop in Palestine, so children might have future, and ceasefire will stop it, save some people's lives.
After handing in that petition, the children and families headed to the Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer's office to hand in a second letter, which also calls on an immediate ceasefire. Now, of course, Sir Keir Starmer faced a major rebellion in Parliament last month on his stance on the Israel and Gaza war, when 56 Labour MPs voted for an immediate ceasefire. Now, Labour's stance is the same as the government. Both want to call for a humanitarian pause so that aid can get to civilians in Gaza. Katie Ray, BBC London.
Meanwhile, around 200 students held a vigil at University College London today in memory of a Palestinian writer and poet. Dr. Refat Al-Ariya studied at UCL in 2007. He was killed in an Israeli airstrike last week. A minute's silence was held in his memory at the university. There were also readings of his final poem, If I Must Die, which were read out in different languages.
He was a beloved lecturer. His students loved him, adored him, and people have read his work. And I think he meant a lot to all of us.
It was lovely to hear his poetry. I think his final poem, If I Must Die, is such a poignant poem, and it is a massive reflection of what every Palestinian is living through constantly. And today we had his poem read out in 10 different languages, transcending linguistic barriers to keep his message alive.
And a reminder, there's more on the Israel-Gaza war, including analysis from BBC correspondents on the BBC News website or by using the BBC News app. Next, on night patrol in Greenwich, London's mayor was out with the police to see how the Met is working to tackle violence and crime during the winter months. Sadiq Khan claims some of the capital's most serious crime is falling, but his critics have accused him of being selective about what statistics he's using. Guy Lynn can tell us more.
Winter nights is going.
Sadiq Khan's on a nighttime patrol with police officers in Greenwich. This is a photo call to show the mayor in charge, in step with those fighting against crime in the run-up to Christmas.
Since I became mayor, we've seen a reduction in crimes like homicide, in knife crime with the victims below the age of 25, and things like burglary, and things like gun crime. But one crime is one crime too many, which is why from City Hall we've invested in 1,300 police officers.
The mayor says several major indicators of crime have fallen under his watch, including knife crime injuries for the under-25s, down by 19%, and homicides down 6%. That's in the last 7 years since he took office.
What's this estate like? Is this
Yet shift the outlook to the last year, and latest Metropolitan Police stats show knife crime has gone up by 14.5%, and homicides have risen, up by nearly 1% since last October.
We've seen a reduction in homicides, in knife crime with the victims below the age of 25.
Which years?
From 2016 up until now. So according to the government...
In the last year we've seen an increase.
Well, look,
it just depends which figures you look at, surely, doesn't it?
Whichever figures you look at. Across the country...
Last year those things have gone up.
Across the country, an increase in these areas of crime. In London, whether you compare 2016 until now, or pre-pandemic until now, or the start of the VRU 2019 until now, we've seen a reduction in the areas of crime I've talked about.
The Conservative candidate vying to take over is critical of Sadiq Khan's use of crime figures.
Sadiq Khan is very selective, isn't he, to try and make himself look better. He needs to remember he is responsible for policing in London, and Londoners do not feel safe.
Why do you say that?
Because I talk to the public all the time, which is more than he does. I knock on many, many doors. Londoners are not feeling safe with him in control of policing in London.
Back in Greenwich, what do the locals say about their experience of crime on the ground? I meet Jarrah and Chris.
It's not always the safest. let's say if you're coming back from like a night out or something like that, you don't always feel safe to like walk in the streets.
There's quite a lot of crime, fights, just anything really, like pickpocketing as well.
The Mayor's team tells us Greenwich is a place where crime has fallen. Next May sees the mayoral elections. Crime and statistics will be a key battleground for this man and anyone who seeks to replace him. Guy Lynn, BBC London.
Well, today, the Mayor has said he's deeply concerned about the disruption being seen in West London on the Elizabeth line. Last week, thousands of passengers were left stranded on trains after problems with the overhead power lines. Our transport correspondent, Tom Edwards, joins me now. Hi, Tom. So what has been happening?
Well, TfL and the Mayor have definitely changed their approach here because this is going on for nearly a year, as we've reported. A lot of commuters in the West who use the Elizabeth line have been complaining a lot about overcrowding, delays and disruption. Now, this has all come to a head last week at Paddington. You'll be able to see some pictures of what happened. Hundreds, 4,000 passengers were stranded for hours outside Paddington due to a failure with the overhead power lines. Now, what the Mayor wants, he wants a meeting with Network Rail bosses to try and sort this out. The problem is the Elizabeth line on that section, the West, it shares its infrastructure, its tracks and its signalling with Network Rail, and that has not been performing well. It's actually the subject of an investigation by the regulator. Now, this is what the TfL Commissioner had to say a little bit earlier.
This was a very significant event, and as an industry we are working together to ensure we learn from it. Firstly, I want to sincerely apologise to affected customers for the disruption. I also want to thank staff involved in the detrainment who worked calmly and safely to assist passengers from the trains. However, the length of time customers spent stranded was not acceptable, and a full review is underway. Additionally, we are working through our service recovery measures for those customers affected.
OK, so that was Transport for London. What about Network Rail? What are they saying?
Well, they concede that they have got a problem with this section, and that is quite unusual, actually. They don't often say that. They've given me a statement. I can read it out here. It says, operating a metro-style service on the line places higher demands on the infrastructure, and we've brought in experts to help us understand what's going wrong so we can put in plans to make it right. Passengers deserve a safe, efficient and on-time railway. Commuters are going to no doubt wait until they see improvements before they crack out the bunting. But if there was a honeymoon period for the Elizabeth line, I think it's over.
And you'll certainly keep across it for us. Thanks ever so much. That's Tom Edwards, our transport correspondent there. Let's take you to the arts now, because have you ever seen the sci-fi horror series Stranger Things? Set in the 1980s, the series is one of the most watched English language shows made by Netflix and follows supernatural events in a small American town. It's now coming to London's West End, as Nick Johnson reports.
From Hawkins, Indiana to London's West End, the Stranger Things phenomenon continues. A new play, which explores the origins of one of the programme's supervillains, opens this week.
I didn't fit in with the other children.
The story revolves around Henry Creel, a strange child who becomes a monster.
Most people fear spiders.
Playing Henry Creel is really fun. What we've been exploring as a young person, young Henry Creel, is in the TV show it's like he's this psychotic killer, and that's sometimes how he's told. But there's this deeper side to him that we're exploring, that maybe it wasn't as plain as it seems.
And for Stranger Things fans, a brand new character.
I don't know how much I can say about her. I don't want to give too much away, but she is Henry's love interest, and I would describe her as on a journey of self-discovery, a bit nerdy, a bit sassy, but again, struggling with her own internal demons.
The play is shrouded in secrecy, but the show is one of Netflix's biggest hits. So what's it like joining the Stranger Things universe?
It's just like confetti in my brain. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah,
it
is mind-blowing.
It's crazy. See behind us as well.
I know, it's crazy. It's so surreal.
Rehearsals are over. It's nearly time for curtain up. Taking Stranger Things from screen to stage has been a long process. But what next?
It's a world that people don't want to leave alone. And doing this project I'd been on the show for so many years, but I felt like I could keep going. Like, you know, I felt like there are so many stories to tell in this universe that's like my favorite genre, this like grounded sci-fi. So I don't know. I mean, I do know, but I can't tell you.
It looks like we'll have to wait and see.
Nick Johnson there. Well, from Stranger Things to festive things. And the South Bank's Christmas Classics concerts start tonight with a week of shows, including the timeless carols and contemporary classics, hosted by musician and saxophonist Yolanda Brown. They'll also be joined by the Philharmonic Orchestra. Let's head over to Alice on the South Bank to find out more, and a musical afternoon for you, Alice.
It certainly has been, Riz. The Philharmonia is just one of several orchestras which will be performing here this week. More on that in a minute. And I was lucky enough to catch them rehearsing the score of a film which is going to be shown here this evening. And if you're an 80s child like me, this is going to bring back a lot of memories.
This evening we're in the festival hall. The Philharmonia Orchestra is going to be playing the live soundtrack to E.T. the movie. It is a score by John Williams, who is one of the most famous composers of film music.
The emotion of the film just comes out through the music so much, and also doing it live, the emotion just get completely maximized. It's brilliant. This 2 hours of brilliance, and it's in a way just showing people that they already like classical music, they just don't know it because it's all classical music.
There's nothing that can replace live music, and really the experience of being in the hall and hearing a full symphony orchestra play these scores that everyone knows so well is going to be so much fun.
Spine-tingling music there, when we can talk more about what is on offer here over Christmas and these holidays with Lucy Noble and Aaron Wright. First of all, Lucy, a great film score, but this is a part of a theme that you're running, isn't it?
It is. It's the start of a kind of Christmas festival here at the South Bank Centre, using the resident orchestras. So we've got E.T. tonight, as you mentioned. Tomorrow we've got the London Philharmonic Orchestra doing a concert called Christmas in Tinseltown with Mark Kermode, the film critic, hosting. We'll be playing some amazing music from Christmas movies.
And there are still tickets for all these events, aren't
Yes,
there?
yeah, absolutely. And then we're working with both orchestras over the weekend to present some really lovely Christmas concerts. But I think the whole point of it is that we're trying to break down a bit around orchestras and classical music. Anyone is welcome. There's classical music, but also some fun, or more relaxed Christmas music, a bit of a sing-along. But families will come along, children through to the elderly, and we want people to enjoy it and feel very welcome in that environment.
Are you looking for new audiences for these kinds of orchestral pieces of music, classical music?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is a bit of a dying genre, and I think we're on a bit of a mission to bring new audiences, bring the audiences back, and to make everyone realise that this kind of music is for them, absolutely.
Thank you so much. Well, Aaron Wright, music, but lots of other things here at the South Bank Centre.
Yeah, we've got so much going on at the South Bank Centre this winter festival. We've got incredible Winter Lights, which is an installation of different light artworks that you can walk around the site and experience for free. We've got the Winter Market, selling homemade crafts, selling great food that you can come down, have something to warm you up. We've also got an incredible free programme, largely in our Claw Ballroom space. So on Christmas Eve, we've got 5 Go Jiving, come and have a dance and hear some great music. On New Year's Day, we've got the kids' famous New Year's Day countdown at 12 noon. So yeah, loads of free activities. Theatres as well. Tonight we have The House of Chicken Legs by Les Enfants Terribles. And that's an incredible show for older children and adults with live music, projection, puppetry. So there's loads going on site.
And how long does the Winter Festival last?
We're going until the 7th of January. So there's loads of time to join. We've got Bluey not opening until next week, which runs until the 7th of January. So loads to get involved with.
That's it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Thank you. Lots going on in this wonderful city of ours. But what about the weather? Let's ask Stav. Hi there.
Hi there, Riz. Thank you very much. Good evening to you. Yeah, it's been a chilly day today for our region. Strong northerly winds, a lot of cloud around, some spots of drizzle here and there. Tomorrow's looking pretty similar, actually, with a lot of cloud around, outbreaks of rain. But things are set to get milder as we push into Friday and certainly during the course of the weekend, if that's your thing. But through tonight, we hold on to the cloud, the northerly breeze. And because of the cloud cover, it shouldn't gets too cold. However, there will be some clearer spells at times towards the end of the night. That could just allow temperatures to drop close to freezing around outside the M25 before the next batch of cloud and rain moves in. And the reason we've seen more cloud and rain tomorrow is this weather front, which will work its way in across the UK, very slow to clear our region as we head through the course of tomorrow. So we start off perhaps a little bit of hazy brightness towards the very far east. Otherwise, it's mostly cloudy, outbreaks of rain, patchy rain at times. Certainly through the morning, could see the odd shower again to the afternoon. Perhaps by the very end of the day, there could be some late brightness towards the far west of our region. Otherwise, it will stay mostly cloudy. Again, feel on the cool side, 7 or 8 degrees, but we won't have the strength of the wind, so it might not feel quite as bad. Thursday night, clearer skies, so it will turn chillier. Winds a little bit lighter as well, so we could be down to freezing outside the M25, down to about 1 or 2 degrees in the city, so a chilly night to come. But this big area of high pressure builds in for Friday and certainly for the weekend. It keeps all the weather fronts at bay. We start to draw up some milder air from the southwest, so we'll be in the low teens both Saturday and Sunday. This weather front may threaten to bring a bit of thicker cloud around on Sunday, the odd shower. Friday then starts off chilly, but it'll at least be bright, lots of sunshine around, and it stays like that into the afternoon too. Temperature-wise, around 9, may hit 10 degrees, but I think we'll stay in single digits again on Friday. It's not until we get into Saturday where things really start to turn much milder. And you can see there, Saturday, Sunday, variable clouds, some sunshine, 12 or 13 degrees, and then through the next week, temperatures will come down a little bit for the run-up to Christmas. But things will be turning noticeably milder by day and by night as we head into the weekend. That's it from me. Riz.
Sounds good. Thanks very much, Stav. And that's it for now. Thanks very much for watching. More stories on our website and social media. Everything from pedestrianising roads near Oxford Street to plans for Paddington Bear, the stage musical, to be written by McFly's Tom Fletcher. Yes, you heard right. From me and everyone on the team, whatever you're doing, have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.